I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome to the Attleboro School Committee meeting of Monday, May 9th, 2022. This is your notice that this meeting is being electronically recorded. And we're going to start tonight with something we haven't done in a couple years, so it's exciting, I think, for all of us to get back at this so we can be focusing focusing on the students again, and two, evidence that we've moved by some of the obstacles we've been through in the last couple of years. So that is recognition of some of our student artists here in the district. We try and decorate our school committee room with artwork from our students at various levels, elementary, middle, and the high school. And we have several student artists here today to celebrate their artwork, which has been displayed up on the wall. So in a minute, I'm going to call their names and ask them to find their picture. We'll hand out certificates to them, and we can take pictures and just celebrate their accomplishments. But first, I want to read what the certificate for each of these students will say, which is that the Attleboro School Committee hereby extends its appreciation to our students for contributing to the student artwork display in the Francis Cito Conference Room, for helping to ensure the conference room of the governing body of the Attleboro schools is a welcoming, vibrant, and student-centric atmosphere. The school subcommittee extends its sincere gratitude. Signed, Stephen K. Withers Jr., Chairperson, May 9th, 2022. And so at this time, I'd like to thank and ask our students, who I'm going to read their names in a minute, to come forward and find their artwork. And from Attleboro High School, we have 4 students. That's Jocelyn Connors, Kaylee Kerrigan, Trinity Medeiros, and Sabrina Paulette. From Brennan Middle School, we have Dustin Silva and Julia Camara. From Coelho Middle School, we have Christina Etienne. From Wonsetta Middle School, we have Megan Huntington and Jackson Fazina. And from our elementary schools, from Hill Roberts Elementary School, we have Anthony Princiotto. From Hyman Fine Elementary School, we have Shaylee Gomez Lopez and Sarah Real. From Studley Elementary School, we have Samantha Locke. From Thatcher Elementary School, we have Liliana Almeida. And from Willett Elementary School, we have D'Angelo Parham and Jenna Blaze. So please come up to your artwork, and we'll be around to thank you and hand out our certificate. So thank you.
Yeah, how would I let you ride? Absolutely.
Hey, how are you? Good, how are you? Good. I don't know if girls took them forever to realize each other. Nice job. Looks great. If you want. Congratulations to the hearts. No, I want to take a picture of it. She's only texted it to me, but it's half done. It's probably best that we sit here. Yeah.
I don't know. I think we're going to need a whole summer.
That's crazy.
I feel like we're going to let this handsome guy do it. It's been so
Yeah, Kat.
Yes. We'll switch sides.
Sarah, would you?
No, this is Shane. Sorry, Shane.
Okay.
She already got hers.
Thank you. You know what? She'll throw at some point. Just
No clue. Good, how are you?
That's it. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Nice to see you. What are you doing
Nice
next
to see
year?
you too. I'm going to Mass Art in Boston.
Good for you.
Art education and graphic design.
Good for you.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I tried to print the whole slideshow because we don't have it.
Yeah. We don't need it. We just speak. Yeah, you're okay.
Hanging in there. Hanging in there. Been a rough road.
Yes, it has.
That's right. Might need to Photoshop. Not Photoshop crop. It's
Next, we have presentations by Whitson's Culinary Group, who provides their culinary services here in Attleboro Public Schools. And I believe they have prepared something for the committee. And Mr. Furtado. Furtado?
Yes, sir.
Whitson's is up. So what? Yeah, they are up. Yep.
Did you want to go grab something before they present?
Yeah. So what is that the plan? We'll go out, grab something, come back, and they can present.
Yep.
All right. So the committee there, Whitson's has prepared for us before they present, and we'll go out, grab what they prepared, and come back in so they can present to us. All right.
Take a recess.
President of Sales for Whitson's Culinary Group. And before we begin, I want to thank the school committee, I want to thank the administration for the opportunity to be here tonight to talk to you about your food service program. We're very proud of the relationship that we've had with Attleboro over the last 13 years. One of the reasons Attleboro selected Whitson's at first was because of our commitment to serving wholesome foods, reducing the processed foods, and doing more scratch cooking in schools. Today, we're continuing to lead the industry as we, with our simply rooted philosophy of offering more natural, organic, and clean ingredients in the meals that we serve, and continuing to push the culinary boundaries with our culinary innovations, some of them you saw out in the lobby today. So, for those of you that don't know, Whitson started out as a family-owned company, 1979. Since that time, we've grown into the 16th largest food service management company in the country, as well as the 9th largest school nutrition provider in the country. We manage more than 125 school districts across the Northeast. So I'm going to, again, I guess the most impressive part is it was still a family-owned business, a family-run business. So I think that's a tribute to the things that we were committed to 15 years ago. So I'm going to turn the presentation over to the operational team. They're going to go over some of our proposal highlights. They're going to talk about some of the things that we're doing in schools, and as you've already got a chance to do the samples, so that's great. But first, let me introduce the team. So first we have John Gerstbeck. John is our Senior Vice President of Operations. He was involved in the transition from the very beginning. And he continues to oversee the program. Both John and I were involved right from the beginning. Next, we have Scott Ferry. Scott is one of our district managers in Massachusetts. He oversees our relationship with the Attleboro Public Schools. He works with Mr. Furtado and supports the on-site management team. Next, we have Brian Papone. Brian is our on-site general manager. He's also a chef. He has 35 years' experience in the food service industry, and Brian is 3 or 4 months short of starting from the very beginning. He joined Whitson's 3 months into the contract as our chef manager, and then about 4 years later, he was promoted to the food service director. And Brian is also a resident of Attleboro, which just increases his commitment to the school program. Next, we have Sean O'Hara. Sean is our executive chef. Sean is a certified executive chef. He's a Johnson & Wales grad. He also was an associate professor there. He's worked as an executive chef in healthcare, in corporate dining, and he's part of our culinary innovations team. So he's joined Whitson's in 2019. He's been working very hard to introduce new menu concepts and push the culinary boundaries that we have in schools. And last but not least, we have Bill Whitcomb, right here to my right. Bill is our Vice President of Customer Experience. Bill's been with Whitson's, and his name is Whitcomb, so he's one of the Whitcomb family members.
Yes.
Bill's been with Whitson's for about 20 years or so, various operational roles, until he moved into this role as Vice President of Customer Experience a little more than a year ago. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the people that do all the work.
Not
So
me.
Bill, John, you want to move up to the front, or Brian, you want to move up to the front?
Okay, so, hello everyone. Thank you for letting us have some time with you today and speak about our company and the great things that we're doing and the next steps that we're excited to talk about. So again, just an overview of who we are, what we do. Ozzy went through our company, 1979, family-owned and operated company, still managed by the family, still family-run, and rooted in a lot of important values: family, food, and authentic communication. I'll talk a little bit further about those, our promises to the Attleboro community. So when we talk about people, when we say treat everyone like family, we do mean that. We're a family-owned and operated company, as we said, and all of our team members are essentially our family. And many of them have worked for us for many years, committed long hours, and worked through, especially this pandemic service, many hours, through a lot of challenging times. And we really are committed to just making sure that we treat everyone, including our employees, like family. Food, serve wholesome food that tastes great. It sounds simple, but that's a promise to our communities, and that's a promise that we deliver on with a lot of different and innovative programs. And communication, nurture authentic communication. We want to make sure that we're engaging students, parents, and the communities that we serve. And that's really important. Communication allows us to get feedback, understand the program, and make enhancements to, move the program forward. Our philosophy is simply rooted. This is our overarching philosophy at Whitson's, and what this means is we're committed to serving wholesome, natural food, helping people live a happier and healthier life by ensuring that all the food that we serve is wholesome, free of artificial ingredients, preservatives, fillers, and our items are as much as possible made from scratch. And serving local products, engaging local farmers, local vendors. That means people that are manufacturers in the Northeast that are manufacturing food here. So it's really important to us that we engage those companies and utilize them in the programs that we have. And again, this rooted philosophy is based in family. And really, you'll see that as part of our presentation moves on. It connects us all to everything that we do. Some great pictures of our team here in Attleboro. You'll notice those signs. That's the school lunch hero sign. That was a really great promotion that we did, and this happened a nationwide program that we really wanted to get involved with. It just showcases that our team are not only food service professionals, but they're heroes to us, especially during the last few years of the pandemic feeding that we had to do, and changing service, at times serving outside, inside. We really wanted to make sure that everybody felt like they were the hero, and they were to us. So just some great pictures. Brian, you want to just, kind of talk a little bit about who the people are on the screen?
Yeah, so, we just got several different schools here, a couple of middle schools and a few elementary schools, just some of the team members. When the pandemic hit, we had, everyone had to kind of turn on a dime. So they were very flexible in what they needed to, what I asked of them. We were all trying to figure it out at the time. So to recognize them like this, they were true heroes. They were right there and did everything that was asked of them to get through the pandemic, especially at the beginning stages of it.
Yeah. Talk a little about food quality. My favorite part of the presentation, talk a little bit about food. I get to look at pictures of food. You guys sampled some great stuff outside. Everything you see here are pictures of the food that is served in Attleboro. It's not marketing pictures. We didn't pull them from the internet. This is all stuff that's made here on site by the great team that's behind me. So, Brian, you want to talk a little bit about what we're seeing?
Yeah, I'll say something about the food, but mainly I'm going to have Sean talk about it more. But Sean came to us in the school year 1920. So he came on board in August of 2019, and we were looking for a fresh, someone fresh into the district.
So fresh, but
and just, kind of reinvent the program a little bit. And then obviously March happened. So he was only on board for, whatever that is, 5-6 months or 4 or 5 months. And then the pandemic hit and everything just had to kind of stop and do things differently. So we're coming out of the pandemic. We've been out of the pandemic. We've turned the corner this school year. And some of these slides that you're about to see that Sean will talk about is what we're moving forward to, and we've already done some of this stuff. And that's the direction we want to go in. The pandemic slowed us down a little bit, but now we're heading in the right direction. So, Sean, you can speak to some of the slides that come up.
So sushi is something that we did my first year here. We had one of our corporate chefs, Rich Sandeman, came and helped me do that station. Very successful. The pizzas, my brain doesn't function like a lot of people's do. I wake up and I talk about food and I think about food. I have a little pad next to my nightstand because I dream about food. I have a sickness, I know. So I constantly have food recipes and I see things and I'm playing with them. Pizza is our busiest station. No matter, pizza day is the busiest day at the elementary schools. Pizza is a very popular station at middle schools, very popular station here. So I wanted to up our game with the pizzas, and I wanted to start doing a couple things that were a little bit more on the next step. So that first one you see the slide of is the Mediterranean pizza that is also outside available. The bowl on the bottom is part of our pop-up station, which we'll talk to a little bit down the road, but it's part of our Incredibles. That is a power bowl, and you actually had samples of the power bowls outside. So it's a grain base. I like to offer two different grains, quinoa or brown rice or some other kind of grain. They have their choice of proteins. There were 6 vegetables the student could choose from, a couple toppings, and then I had a couple really unusual sauces. There was a chimichurri, a harissa, and a roasted garlic lemon aioli, which is absolutely fantastic. Bill, if you would hit that for me, please.
You're making me hungry. Just talking. I'm thinking about aiolis right now.
So this slide, the slide on the left is a new product we brought in. One of our vendor partners has these corn muffin bowls, and they're really actually very tasty. So that's something we did at the middle schools. We did a pulled pork corn muffin bowl. We also did the same bowls with a different stuffing. We did a take on a corn dog for the elementary school kids, which I'll talk about. The slide in the center is the street tacos. So that station is thanks to Mr. Furtado. We were in a meeting one day, and Mark was talking about fish tacos, and my mind started going, and I said, tacos, street tacos, okay, and that took off. So this is the only school in the country that has seen the street taco so far. That was developed here at Attleboro. It is something that is going to development for Whitson's, but that is something that Brian and I created here for the city of Attleboro. The barbecue event was done just before I got here, and then that's another shot of the pizzas. Bill, if you would click me again, please. All right, so Ramen Station. I'm not too far.
Hold on. I don't want to miss this food.
Ramen Station, another very popular station with the students. We have a bunch of different vegetables, a couple different broths for them to choose from, which we make in-house, and then I usually have a few different proteins. That center slide is a roasted edamame salad, and then the slide in the end are the toppings and what the students had a choice for vegetables from the power bowls.
Good stuff.
This is some of our elementary engagement. So the top 2 slides are National Breakfast Week and Smoothie Day. That was actually done before we got shut down for the pandemic. And Smoothie Day, I will tell you, was an absolute huge hit. We broke all-time breakfast record at Willett Elementary School, doubled their participation for the day. Really, really super day. That was another one of our visiting chefs in the bottom left. And then the slide on the bottom right is something we just did a couple weeks ago. We did State Fair Theme Day at the elementary schools. I did a different elementary school every day. We had the corn muffin bowls. We had potato salad, a fresh corn salad, oranges, caramel apple slices, cheddar cheese popcorn. We had balloons, streamers. We also had we did Lucky Tray Day. We did little door prizes. We had little stuffed animals for the kids.
Lucky Tray Day.
Problem with that is now everybody sees me, they want to know if I have prizes for them. But they all want to know when I'm coming back. It was a lot of fun. I really had a great day. Had a lot of students stopping me. I remember you. This little girl stopped me in one of the schools. I remember you. You gave us lunches when school was shut down. There's another little boy at another of the schools. From the very first day we did lunches, that very first Monday we shut down, he and his mom came every single day, and I see him at one of the elementary schools, and every time he sees me, I get a big grin, and always wants to see me, always tell him to say hello to his mom, so I still see those kids, and we still have that engagement piece.
Yeah.
Bill, if you would, please.
Yeah, and just one more quick, just to talk about that guest chef experience. So what you see there, I mean, we really set this up as not only a culinary experience, but a nutritional education outreach. So we really provide information. We want to get kids involved in knowing the farms where the food comes from, talk about the food, understand more about it. It's really part of our whole process to get kids excited about the food service.
And this is some catering that we've done for you folks. This was, I believe, for teacher negotiations, for contract before we got shut down. This is the first of 2 that we did. This was just crudité and dips and some executive sandwiches, but what I was exceptionally happy with and proud of the desserts in the last slide. Those are all handcrafted, made from scratch. There was a mojito flavored fruit salad. There was a lemon poussette, which is a really yummy lemon custard with some macerated berries and a graham cracker crumble. And then the other one is it's vegan until I put the whipped cream on top of it. It's a vegan chocolate bondino. It's made with coconut milk. You soak palm chia seeds in it, and then you get a little toasted almond on the top. It's actually a James Beard Award winning recipe that I had the opportunity to work. No, I've had the opportunity to work for the James Beard dinners up in Boston for a number of years, and worked with some of the local and celebrity chefs, and I just happened to appropriate that and twist it a little bit and made it my own. So it's not quite their original recipe, but my twisted version thereof.
Great stuff. Great stuff. I'll get to the next slide.
And this is the last of the executive catering. This is actually done the Wednesday before school got shut down on Friday. This was a create your own salad station. We had salmon, we had chicken, flank steak, a whole bunch of different roasted and raw vegetables, and that dessert in the bottom corner is a roasted peach and stone fruit crostata.
I don't know how I can get more hungry after looking at these photos when there's food next. So thank you for going through that. It's a lot of great food. And so you've seen what the things that are happening on site. We'll talk a little more about what next steps, what innovation steps we're taking. As you've heard from Chef Sean, we really drive our innovation with our team. And everything you see here, one thing about us is that the recipes, the pop-up stations, all the things that you see come from our staff. This is stuff that's, really done by the operators on site. So they live and breathe this. So what comes from it is just incredible stuff. Scott, you want to go through a little bit of some of the innovation efforts and some of what you see here?
Sure. I mean, as Brian mentioned, we're continuously looking at ideas to improve food, enhance the students' experience. So one of the programs we introduced this year is what we call pop-up stations. And these stations, it's really just our way of showcasing either the students' most favorite item, or it focuses on emerging trends that are out there right now. So these pop-up stations, we can offer the items, either right off the serving line and do a smaller scale of it, or we can do a standalone kiosk, so to speak, in the dining room, at the secondary levels if there's space, and we can modify the recipes and the offerings depending on whether it's the space we have to work with, the staff we have to work with. But what we've found with the pop-up shops is it's increased our participation by 7% as a company, 14% increase in average daily participation, and there's like a 56% engagement, meaning it just draws students. We get their interest. They want to know what's happening. They want to see the food. And obviously, bottom line is they're eating and we're serving more meals. The other piece that we're looking to continue with is a Simply Boxed. So we have a variety of what we call Simply Boxed recipes. They're picnic ham box, pizza pack box. Sean has some samples there.
Pass them around. I'll bring you guys over some samples in a minute, but that's what the full boxes look like.
Yeah, I got those all over.
We have a sunrise breakfast, Simply Boxed item, and we want to continue. These are extremely popular at all levels, and we want to continue to look for new recipes here and continue that trend as well. The other cool thing that happened this year is we partnered with the Humane Society. We have 10 districts right now partnering with the Humane Society. We're launching a plant-based recipe concept for the K-12 schools. So these, there's an increased demand, obviously, for plant-based foods. It reduces greenhouse gas emissions, land and water usage, but it's something that we're really involved in and focused on and partnering with them. And it's, some of the items, we have a teriyaki tofu bowl, a fiesta rice and beans bowl. We have probably 10 to 12 recipes that we've chosen specific districts, and we're piloting this program in those specific schools. So we're continuing, as Brian said, we're continuously looking for new ideas, new recipes, to continue to get the students' interest and drive our participation as a company and for Attleboro Public Schools.
Yeah, and the veggie bowls, this is not, we also do, as you've seen, a Meatless Monday. So we've partnered with Meatless Monday for the last few years, and we knew that was we wanted to expand our plant-based offerings, really empower someone, not just the marketing, but getting a partner, and the Humane Society just reached out to us because they knew that we were working with the Meatless Monday group on promoting that program. So it was a really great, partnership that we're working on now. And I'll just go, Scott, I'll just preface this slide. So Scott talked about those pop-up shops. Here's just a quick summary of what they are. There's many different versions of them. And again, as Scott said, they're utilized differently. We can plug one in and take one out. And they're limited time offerings, so they really generate the excitement. It's meant to be something that, can be done weekly, monthly, quarterly. We really can change it up, and it really drives the students really go crazy for this, right? Yeah.
Right, yep.
I can tell you that we did the Wing Shack, Wamsutta Middle School, doubled their participations off that station for the day. They did 215, highest out of all 3 middle schools. When we did Power Bar, the street tacos upstairs, busiest day off that station upstairs for the year.
You guys,
They took up a quarter of the sales for the day.
I was in line.
The Power Bowls went incredibly. Incredibles did incredibly well. Yardbird is on the slate for when we get into the new school.
there you go.
So we got a few things that we're looking
Okay.
forward to.
So just to kind of summarize again, we talked about those pop-up shops. So here's some pictures of what you're seeing there on the pop-up shops. Again, just summarizing the increase in not only the participation, but as Scott mentioned, the engagement. So that gets kids inside the cafeteria. It's something that we wanted to make sure, especially during the pandemic, service where things were limited. We launched this during the pandemic to really kind of engage kids and get kids excited about the cafeteria again. So it was really part of a program that we launched all over. And again, because there's so many different versions of it, we've had incredible success.
Yep.
Scott, so we want to talk a little bit about what we see here on the bowls?
Yeah, and as we mentioned, so we're looking for, cultural diverse menus, international flavors. We've done the ramen bowl concept here in the past, prior to COVID. But again, we have, as a company, not only for Attleboro specifically, but as a company, we have meetings where we want to think about innovation. What are the latest trends? And even district specific, what is Attleboro looking for? We're more than open to do piloting programs to, on a test basis to see what works, what doesn't work, and then, to modify what we do so it's a right fit. I mean, ultimately, our business is to serve kids and make sure they're eating. So we won't stop at doing that. We'll continue, as we go forward.
And these aren't from the internet. Those are the actual bowls that Sean was making right outside the kitchen. We're doing some photos of them. These are part of a guidebook. We can use them as like a build sheet. I mean, I think those are great pictures, again, making me really hungry. And the last piece we talk about, so people, food, communication, how do we connect the program? How do we draw in students, get feedback, communicate with the district, the wellness committee, school administration, and our staff. So really, there's 3 components on this. The top left, community relations, you'll see some kids in the garden. That's something that actually I'm really passionate about, that I work on, community gardens throughout the Northeast, helping build them, supporting them, promoting them, getting kids' hands dirty in the soil, and having them actually, eat the food they grow. So that's really part of, we have a lot of corporate support for that. The partner communications, you're looking at the dining review. Those are the reports that we send monthly. We also have survey functions surveys that are out. We have multiple types of surveys. So electronic, we have the ability to do a QR code survey so the kids can scan it with their phone, because everybody has a phone that can scan a QR code now. And also on our website, if you look on the bottom left, just to kind of skip, you'll see that's the FD Meal Planner. So that's the software that runs, that is the forward-facing menu software. So that's what you see, the specials. You can run nutrition information. You can get allergen information. You could run, if your student has a food risk, like a diabetic or an iron issue, you could run the nutritionals right from the software. So you get that information instantly. And also, they can rate the food. So kids, when they're on the app, because of course we have an app, and it's utilized. We have a lot of kids that are on there giving feedback on the entrees, and that can happen multiple times a day. So we get a lot of good feedback on that. and our team members. So our community, our team members are your community. You know, this is, again, we treat everyone like family, and we really are committed to ensuring that our team members we're engaging with them and we're connecting with them. So I'll go into the next slide a little bit more about that technology, but that's called our Cafe Connections. It's a digital format that we can communicate to our team through TV. So it's something that's actually visual. It's up on the wall in every kitchen, and it's a great program. John, you want to talk a little bit more about
I
that?
think you said it all, Bill. No, so I know everyone wants to take Chef Sean home with them and innovative in the food area, but we also try and stay very cutting edge with the technology piece of our organization. And as Scott mentioned, we actually have a meeting next week we call Think Tank. So we all get together in a room, and it's like a war room. We pass around ideas until we can get out of there with a top 10 list and to get out and share them with Sean and people like Brian as well. Cafe Connections is a great way for us to communicate to our team members out in the schools. Not only does it give you the weather of their local area, but we could do messaging to them instead of, if we have a problem with a supply issue or something like that, Brian can easily get up on this system. It's home-based at the high school here in his office. He can send out a message to his team, everybody gets it at the same time. There's no email and there's no calling or anything like that. We're working with Mr. Furtado right now, getting the TVs in the locations right now. Once in the locations, they'll become programmed from our corporate office. And we could share ideas. We could share ideas within the district. We could share any messaging that the district wants to send around to the team. If the board wants to say, have a happy holiday, Brian could put that up on the system. So it's a great way to communicate with them. We also could do a lot of training on this. We do monthly trainings throughout the year, and we can have this loop through the trainings. They're about 15-minute trainings. It could loop through every couple of minutes. There's a ticker tape that could give some messaging items to our team as well. Our ownership can pass around a message. Scott as a DM could do it. I could do it. Ozzy. Anybody can let Brian know what we want to pass along to the team, and we can do it that way. We also can do HR messaging from our corporate office out to all team members through this system, and any of our marketing ideas that we have, we could share it with them. So it's a great tool. It's cutting edge, and I know it's all about the food, but we try and stay technically savvy as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, and one of the great things too, we do a lot of great video series for our team, kind of promoting the program, different locations, different people, and this is a great tool for everyone to see those videos that come up and all that great program that we have. It's just really phenomenal. And I think that concludes our part of the presentation.
When we jump in the night, can I just talk about
Yes.
our pipeline things that we've got a couple of things?
There you go. So I'll pass them around now. Look,
Again, I dream about food. I'm a little strange. Mark tasked us with trying to really drive participation at the elementary schools, and I have an absolute weakness for them. I spent a good part of my first year at Willard Elementary School for various different reasons. Half the elementary school kids in the district think I'm Santa Claus. I really enjoy them. I enjoyed being with them. I enjoy spending time with them. So this is something fun I was actually working on before COVID hit, and I had to back burner it, and I was asked if I had anything in the pipeline that the bosses haven't even really seen yet. This is my pipeline. They're sun nut butter, jelly, and fruit tacos for the elementary school kids. They look a little cumbersome, but
that's a taco.
It's a taco.
That's it.
So,
and you guys eat.
That's the first.
Yeah. And you'll tell they're good, right? Because you're.
I'm gonna try them in a minute. I still have to work out the nutrition components for this and get them analyzed, but we gotta have all the components like a grain and piece of this. But in-house made banana yogurt pops, strawberry and apple juice pops, just because some people can't have the dairy. I'm thinking this is gonna be a breakfast item, maybe this, little bagel, something like that, so we get all the components in for a meal. I think it's a winner for the kids. I do have samples of these for everybody as well if they would like.
Take home a doggy bag, please. There's so much food. Just
Now you can do questions. You set?
So, Questions for the Whitsons? Yes,
Yeah,
Mr. Storrs?
thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to start off by saying, thank you so much over the last 2 years or so, working with the administration. One of our biggest concerns were when we were going remote, going hybrid. You guys, we rely on you to provide nutrition to our students. So many of them, free reduced lunch. That was a big concern of ours. So thank you for working with the administration, working with the district to be able to continue. I know there was a big drop off on how much we were doing, but still the fact that we were able to provide that to our students during that difficult time, thank you. I know that you guys have been involved with the concept of the new high school and how different things are going to be. Here we have so many different cafeterias and all this other stuff. It's going to be very different. So do you guys have any thoughts, comments, concerns, anything regarding the new high school in relation to food service?
No, so I think, I've been working with Brian for the past 5 years, 5 or 6 years, but right when I came on, we were actually working with the architects designing the new kitchen. My first meeting with them, we essentially changed the plans totally to the kitchen, but based on the design, we feel that we're going to offer, probably more than what we're offering now. The stations that we've designed, it's going to give us the flexibility to do what we call action stations. So whether that's, stir fry in front of the kids or homemade omelet to order stations for breakfast, those types of things. So we worked hard on making sure not only the design and the layout, but making sure that we have the equipment that we need, because that's key. So in terms of like our serving stations, we got away from having a standalone hot serving station. Now it's a hot or cold by well. So we could have 3 hot options, and then all our cold items. Say if it's our Coyote Grill, we have the hot options and then the cold toppings right there. So it's definitely given us more flexibility. We're excited about it. I think we're going to be able to do a lot more than what we face with the challenges of the school as it is right now.
That's great. What about the layout of the cafeteria itself, as far as the layout with the different wells and stations? How any thoughts on that?
No, I think you can talk, Brian. I know you've seen it.
Yeah, I mean, that part of the kitchen is the servery part of it, I call it. That's not quite there yet. The equipment's not in or anything like that, but I think just having it as one cafeteria, I think it's going to give the students a ton of options. They'll be able to look and see what is at every station each day and then decide on what they want for lunch that day. I think also having one cafeteria like this will also help any kind of promotions we do, anything that Sean puts together. I think we lose some people now because we can only put it on one station, say it's on 3rd floor on B3. If kids don't move, if it takes time for them to move from floor to floor. So I think we do well with the promotions and the participation from those, but it will just be so different. I mean, like Scott said, we are looking forward to it.
And the salad bar is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
The 9 wells, and each section right now is a 4-well system at each one of the lines. To have 9 wells to be able to do a salad bar, like a real salad bar with all the toppings and all the crudité toppings, a lot of the composed salad types of things I showed you this afternoon. I'm really looking forward to it.
Good. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I don't
Ms.
have.
Porto, yeah.
You have a gentleman on the screen.
Chris.
Ms. Porto, then Mr. Frappier, go ahead.
I don't have a question, but I do appreciate everything that you've done. My son is in 3rd grade and participates in the lunch all the time. And you're very lucky to have Sean. He was my instructor at Johnson & Wales.
There you go.
So yeah, very good. Still
Good, you.
holds the room like you did.
Mr. Frappier?
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I just had a little bit of quick feedback. I noticed that there's some days where there's 2 options for protein that are both meat, and there's not a vegetarian option. Other days you might have 2 vegetarian options. I just didn't know if there's any thought into offering at least 1 vegetarian and 1 meat option per day, instead of the days where you double up, where there's nothing for the vegetarian or nothing for the meat either on some of those days.
Talking about here at the high school?
Oh, no, at the elementary schools, I have a child at Thatcher, and I've looked at some of the other menus and noticed the doubling up some days. So just, I guess, some more constructive feedback that you might be missing some kids on individual days when there's not an option available.
We're looking at what we can do to take that elementary school level menu to the next level. This year and last year was our most challenging with them because we were delivering to the classroom, so it limited what we could give them for the service model last year. This year, again, we started off, we wanted to make sure that it was handleable, but we are looking at that, me going in and doing the special promos and things like that. I do have a couple things in my back pocket that we're working on. I have every intention of spending a lot of time at the elementary schools, more than I have so far in the past. This year was a little difficult. We had a lot of staff out, and I was covering, vacations and people out here and there. I was at Wamp Center for 18 weeks covering. Our head cook was out over there. So as I am able to get out there, I am focusing on the elementary schools. Like I said, Mark had challenged us to focus on the elementaries, and I've got a couple other things that I'm working on that I'm going to save for a surprise down the road.
Yeah, and we can certainly do more vegetarian options on a daily basis on the elementary.
And we always have that option. I mean, it's they can always call down and request a salad. They can always call down and get something. We can make it happen. We have also gone to the point we had a student. There's a fairly good-sized vegetarian population in one of the elementary schools. We brought in some vegan nuggets for them. Things like that. So if there's a need for it, we certainly have the ability to get it. So we want to make sure that the kids don't get singled out. The vegan nuggets look almost identical to the regular chicken nuggets. I mean, our girls know how to tell them apart so they're not getting mixed up, but we do have some things that we can add to that. So if there's a need for it, we absolutely can make that happen.
Listen, I really appreciate your efforts. It's a great program you guys are running, and keep up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Stewart?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To go in a different direction, so, I look at Attleboro and we're very unique in that we actually have a culinary CTE program. And is there any interaction between our food service providers and our current culinary? And if so, or please explain what it is. And then if not, or if there is there any chance to expand that?
We have a little bit of a relationship. We are looking to expand that next school year for sure. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely looking to expand it.
Over there all the time.
Yeah,
we're in each other's kitchens back and forth.
Yeah,
we might have to go borrow something from them. They come over, maybe borrow something from me, a piece of equipment. We have a very good working relationship. As far as doing more with them, we'd love to.
Yeah, it's such a unique opportunity. I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do have a couple of districts right now that they have a culinary program, and what we do, for example, is they come and they actually cook, prepare, and serve the meal for the students that day. So our hourly staff supervises them, obviously, but they're the ones producing, and then when they're behind the line serving, it's a great experience for them. It's fun. So we can do a lot of things like that. Plus promotions. We can get them involved in some of the promotions that we do going forward.
Love to see something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kitchen they built is unbelievable. So, I mean, I walk in there as a foodie and I just look at that piece of equipment, that piece. Oh, we can, so many great things. So I think there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of potential.
All right. Well, I want to thank all of you from Whitson's for coming. Later on in the agenda, we have our food service contract as an item to consider. So I want to thank you again very much for the presentation, for everything you've done as our food service provider, especially during the last few years during COVID, and the extra efforts to make sure our students are fed. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure.
Can I just anybody in a fruit or yogurt pop before we go?
I'm all set.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, so next, we have our Student Advisory Council update. I don't know if you guys brought us food or...
Good evening. This week's All Around Attleboro segment contains important information regarding the start of May.
Start off, we're going to go with our SAC shoutouts. Congratulations to the Black Student Alliance and the 2030 class for launching a successful multicultural festival. The 2030 class also started their Departmental Students of the Month initiative. For the elementary schools, Hyman Fine is having their music open house for grades 1st through 3rd on May 16th to the 19th and during class times. Thatcher is having a fun run kickoff on May 16th to the 19th as well. Thatcher's Title I night for the 1st grade and 2nd grade will be on May 17th at 6:30 p.m. in the pavilion. Studley's PTO meeting will be on May 18th at 6:30 p.m. and Wilt's having their PTO meeting on May 19th at 6 p.m. Hyman Fine is having their Someone Special dance on May 20th at 6:30 p.m. as well. For the middle schools, Coelho is having a book fair on May 9th to the 13th. Brenn's PTO meeting will be on May 10th at 7 p.m. and Coelho is having a PTO meeting on May 18th at 6:30 p.m. Wumstead is having their PTO meeting on May 19th at 6:30 p.m. and Brennan's Spring Musical will be on May 20th at 6 p.m. as well.
For the high school, AP Test Week will be continuing this week of May 9th through the 13th. If your student is receiving an award at Awards Night, it will be happening on May 12th at 6:30 p.m. in the Bray Auditorium. Junior Prom will be happening this Friday, May 13th at 6 p.m. at the Taunton Holiday Inn. Math MCAS will be happening next week on May 17th and 18th. The daily schedule will be different for these 2 days. If your student was selected for a scholarship, they will be celebrated at Scholarship Night on May 19th at 6:30 p.m. in the large gym. And come and support the drama department at the One Act Festival on May 21st from 9 to 5 in the Bray Auditorium. For community engagement, families are available to meet the new principal, Ms. Campbell, on Tuesday, May 10th at 6 p.m. in the mini auditorium. Commemorative t-shirts are available for purchase at the Lights Out website. The last day to purchase t-shirts will be on Wednesday, May 11th. Tickets for the June 18th Lights Out Extravaganza are available at the Lights Out website as well. This information is also shared on the Attleboro High School Facebook page. This concludes our segment of All Around Attleboro. Thank you.
Great. Thank you both very much. Next, we have our business agenda, and I will turn it over to the superintendent, Mr. Sawyer, for his report.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a few quick updates for you this evening. First, Presidents Clark and Douglas from Bridgewater State University and Bristol, respectively, will be joining some of their local officials, Director DeSimone and Dean Ray. Tomorrow, they're coming to tour our new high school, and we're going to be talking while we tour a little bit about how we can strengthen our partnerships with these local institutions for the future. So very excited to have the opportunity to have them in and to show them our new building and to talk about what we can do moving forward to benefit our students who someday might be their students. I also wanted to acknowledge that as you've seen through our data, COVID continues to creep up. We are having clusters of cases in 2 classrooms in the district, both at the elementary level. We're working with the health department. DESE has reached out to us to say that they would be, they've offered their help, although, really all help is to tell us, to remind people to wash their hands and so forth and so on. So, the state's perspective very clearly is that we need to find ways to manage this and that this is the new normal. And we are keeping an eye on it and doing what we can to work with families and to keep students safe. But we are part of what the state called on a call last week a swell. Don't call it a spike, it's a swell. And that they are predicting that the data will start coming down after this week. So we hope that that's true. But either way, we are working to make sure that we can continue to keep schools open and kids in school and that not let the case numbers get in the way of what we're doing one way or the other. And then finally, I shared with you in your update on Friday the invitation to our first retirement party. we talk a lot about how dedicated our staff is, that in a district with a, that's underfunded by $20 million, our staff have to pick up the slack and do extra to make all of this work. And, we wouldn't be the district we are without their contribution every day. And so, part of making this a place that people enjoy working at and, feel valued and respected is that, we have to do a better job of recognizing their contribution. And we try to remember to say that as much as we can, and we try to find appropriate places to point that out to people. But, one thing that as a district we could do a better job on is some of the formal recognitions and, acknowledging people who are retiring and have given, in many cases, decades of service. Just seems like a thing that we should be doing. We've been working for years towards having this event. The pandemic got in the way of it, so we're very glad that we finally found a way to put it together. And I'm sincerely hoping that some of the committee will be able to join us that night. I think it would mean a lot to our educators to show that we as a community really appreciate the time that they've given in service to our students. That concludes my report.
Great. Any questions for Mr. Sawyer? All right, moving on, we have our minutes from our April 25th, 2022 meeting. Minutes were circulated with your materials. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or edits? All right, Mr. Domenici?
Yes.
Ms. Porto?
Yes.
Mr. Storrs?
Yes.
Mr. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Withers, yes. Mr. Frappier?
Yes.
Next, consent agenda tonight, 6 items. Motion to accept a payment in the amount of $13.25 from Bay State Textiles to Hill Roberts. Motion to accept the contractual obligation in the amount of $75.75 from Planet Aid, Inc. as broken down on the check receipt dated April 22nd, 2022. Motion to accept a donation in the amount of $75 from Target to the high school gifts donation line. Motion to accept a donation in the amount of $280 from Chick-fil-A for Attleboro High School track and field. Motion to approve a day field trip proposal for grades 10 and 8 high school students to go to UMass Amherst on June 9th, 2022. Motion to approve a day field trip proposal for 31 Attleboro High School band members to go to Holyoke High School to participate in the Music in the Parks competition on May 14th.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, Mr. Frappier?
No. Oh, sorry. No discussion. Yes to approve.
Thank you. Mr. Withers, yes. Mr. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Storrs?
Yes.
Ms. Porto?
Yes.
Mr. Domenici?
Yes.
All right. Consent agenda passes. Next, we have our subcommittee meeting reports, and I will turn it over to Mr. Storrs for policy and personnel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The committee met May 2nd, last Monday, and we continued our review of policies as we've been doing. Numerous policies come forward, much of which is just noting the review date, no changes. We did have a discussion of legal counsel had made a recommendation to possibly take 2 of our A-section policies and combine them, the sexual harassment policy and the anti-discrimination policy. After discussion, we decided not to move on that at this time. Administration is going to go back to legal counsel and have further discussion. For the policies that did come forward, everything came out unanimously. The following policies are nothing more than just noting the review date. They either align with MASC or they continue to meet our needs if different from MASC. Policy GA, Personnel Policies Goals. GBA, Equal Employment Opportunity. GBEA, Staff Ethics, Conflict of Interest. GBEBC, Gifts to and Solicitation by Staff. GBEC, Drug-Free Workplace. GBED, Tobacco on School Property by Staff Members Prohibited. GBGB, Staff Personnel Security and Safety. GBI, Staff Participation in Political Activities. GBK, Staff Complaints and Grievances. GCBB, Employment of Principals. GBEB, Staff Conduct. JJH, Student Late Night or Overnight Travel. We did make a minor edit to the MASCs, recently reviewed this, so the MASC review date. Same with the JJH-R student travel regulations. If nobody wants me to take up any of those separately, I'll put them up to debate. All right, seeing none. Is there any further discussion? Okay, so I'm going to approve all these policies as they came out, which is, again, just noting the review date or the minor edits as I just mentioned. Mr. Domenici?
Yes.
Ms. Porto?
Yes.
Mr. Storrs, yes. Mr. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Withers?
Yes.
And Mr. Freppia?
Yes.
Okay. Next section.
Mr. Storrs, you voted yes, right?
Yes, I did. Yep. Next, motion to approve the minor edits to policy JF, the residency policy. Currently, the policy has that we go through steps to check residency when they come into kindergarten, when they're transitioning from kindergarten to first, when they go from elementary to middle school, and when they go from middle school to the high school. The administration believes that it's redundant that we have the kindergarten to first check, being that most of those students are either checked or kindergarten, or if they come in a later grade, they're checked at that time. So the recommendation and the committee unanimously agreed to remove the additional check between kindergarten and first. So that motion came out unanimously. I will put that up to discussion. Is there any further discussion on that policy? Okay. So motion to approve. Mr. Frappier?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman Withers?
Yes.
Mr. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Storrs, yes. Ms. Porto?
Yes.
And Mr. Domenici?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Next section, the handbooks. We had a discussion about the handbooks as we do every year. There's two sections for policies related to the handbook. The first section, I'm going to actually do all of them at once if nobody has any problems with that. The first one was just to note the review date. These policies aren't changing in any way. ADC, tobacco products on school premises. EEAEC, student conduct on school buses. IJND, access to digital resources. IJNDC, internet publications. The next section of policies, there were some minor changes. Most of them were, MASC has recently reviewed them, so noting their review date and possibly adding certain legal references. I'll summarize each one as I go through it. IHAMA, parent notification relative to sex education. Again, it's the MASC review date and adding a legal reference that was missing. IJNDB, empowered digital use policy, additional staff personnel email guidance. IJNDD, policy on social media, the review date. JEB, elementary entrance age, MASC review date and legal reference update. JH, student absences and excuses, MASC review date and legal reference update. JICFA, prohibition of hazing. It's just to add the MASC review date. JICFB, bullying prevention. We're noting updating the MASC review date, and the only other minor change is, people probably remember this is a policy that actually Attleboro created back in 2010. MASC took our policy and used it as their policy, and now it's all throughout Massachusetts. But over the time, certain terms have changed legally and also with MASC. For example, when it first started, the term perpetrator and the term, I believe it was victim were the standard. Then we started getting to the point where we were using two different terms, target and victim, for example, or aggressor and perpetrator. So we're to the point where I think they've settled on terms in this area, and we haven't made the change yet, so that's what we're looking to do at this time anyway. So we're just looking to remove the term that's no longer used. I believe it's perpetrator, and I believe it is victim. So that, and for Judy, it was changed within the definition section, but it needs to be changed throughout the entire policy, please. Okay, so if anybody if there's nobody that would like to take any of these separately, I will put them all up
I don't think you got to JICH.
Oh, thank you. JICH, alcohol, tobacco, and drug use by students. It was just minor formatting and the MASC review date. Thank you. So if nobody wants to take any of these up separately, I'll put them all up for discussion. Okay.
Just a question,
Yep,
just to clarify, I heard you say it to Ms. Nelson, but I just wanted to clarify, because I did notice in JICFB,
Yep.
the terminology is changing throughout, not just in the definitions.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yes. So in the policy that was provided, the red line was only down in the definitions, but it's actually throughout the entire policy.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll put all those up for approval. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Domenici?
Yes.
Ms. Porto?
Yes.
Mr. Storrs, yes. Mr. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Withers?
Yes.
And Mr. Freppia?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. And that, Mr. Chairman, concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Storrs. Next, Finance and Budget, Mr. Larson.
Finance and Budget Subcommittee met May 4th. Mr. Furtado took us through the monthly budget reports. We had some concerns, but the state has shown up with some money kind of at the 11th hour that's going to help out one of our transportation lines. So that's going to be a big help. And the gym floors at the 2 elementary schools are on track, and the high school is on track. And the train contract throughout the district should be starting relatively soon.
Has started.
Has started. So, it's going to be a very busy summer, busy fall. We have a number of motions coming out of the meeting. A lot of them are housekeeping, some of them are contractual. So the first one is I'll entertain a motion to allow the budget director to make the necessary transfers to close out the fiscal 2022 school year.
So moved.
Second.
This is basically just housekeeping. We have to close all the accounts up, and it expedites the process. All right. Mr. Frappier?
Yes.
Mr. Withers?
Yes.
Mr. Larson, yes. Mr. Storrs?
Yes.
Ms. Porto?
Yes.
Mr. Domenici?
Yes.
Thank you very much. The next one, in your packet, you had an agreement with the Smarts Collaborative. Again, this is a annual event that we do with them. So we just need to approve the agreement. I don't believe there's many, I don't think there were any changes.
No changes.
No changes, so entertain a motion to approve the summer rental agreement with the Smarts Collaborative.
Yeah, so moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Mr. Domenici?
Yes.
Ms. Porto?
Yes.
Mr. Storrs?
Yes.
Ms. Larson, yes. Mr. Withers?
Yes.
Mr. Frappier?
Yes.
Okay. Next one, we've had a request to close out some dormant high school activity accounts. There was a letter that was sent to me on April 1st, 2022 from Principal Rooney, and this was included in your packet. This just closes up some accounts that have been left over from past classes, and the funds will be transferred into the AHS Student Council activity line, excuse me. So I would entertain that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Mr. Frappier?
Yes.
Mr. Withers?
Yes.
Mr. Larson, yes. Mr. Storrs?
Yes.
Ms. Porto?
Yes.
Mr. Domenici?
Yes.
Okay. The next one, we had a bid opening for our next transportation contract. It was a little eye-opening, to say the least. We had one contract, we had one bidder. So we are bringing forward to the full committee a motion to approve the transportation bid received from Bloom Bus Company on April 28th, 2022 for $10,010,718 for the next 3 years.
How does this compare with the current contract?
Do we need
So
to
the,
take a motion out for agreement?
Yeah, sorry. Good, thank you.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion.
All right.
Sorry.
Yep.
So the FY23 figure for transportation is an increase of 15% over our current rates. Over 80% of their cost structure are fuel and people. So there is a national shortage of drivers. There is a increase in the minimum wage, both that have to be absorbed in terms of their costs. And then, diesel fuel has doubled in the past 8 months. So a 15% increase wasn't outside of kind of those dynamics. But it's substantial. And each year thereafter, there is a 5% jump, as opposed to what has been for the last 2 or 3 contracts, a 2.5% jump.
What would happen if we rejected this? Like, what would be the next step if we said that?
Next step would be to go out and get bids again. And, I've kind of told the committee before, there is a well-understood and very concerning lack of competition in transportation service bids for public school systems. There's a chance, again, it's not a threat, it's a better than half probability that the rate would go up.
Because just Bloom would come back and they come back higher?
Mr. Storrs?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Larson. From past discussion, I know that normally when you go out to bid, you just the one company comes back. Other companies go out of their way to shy away because that territory belongs to that company. When you go out a second time, it almost kind of starts throwing the green flag, this might be open. Do you
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends on why you go out the second time. So if the first time out you didn't have a proposal, that is a signal to come on in and give it a shot. If the committee rejects a valid proposal, that's much less the case.
Is the administration recommending we go forward with this?
Yes, I would. That would be my recommendation. It's not going to get, I don't think it's going to get any better.
It could be worse.
Could be worse.
Are there any other questions or concerns?
Just, how long was the bid process open? Like, when we go out to bid, how long do we keep it open?
Month and a half. So there are typically visits, so, mandatory visits, and those are usually attended by other vendors. In this case, it was not. And those are to answer questions you might have in the RFP, such as,
Sure.
Where am I going to house my buses? What are the tax requirements and all that kind of stuff. That didn't happen this time. Also, there's a wholesaler who, New England Transit, who supplies buses to most of the bus companies in New England. They attend to get a sense of how many buses you're going to run, and they start forming their kind of business plan based on numbers, how many buses they're going to be able to sell, across multiple districts. They didn't show up either, so.
Mr. Storrs?
Thank you. In regard to the busing, I understand that what the companies do is they purchase new busing and spread the cost out over the contract.
Over years, yeah.
Right. The current buses that are being used, that was part of the old contract that has been, 5 years?
5 years.
5
yeah.
years.
So I believe this contract is calling for 17 or 18 or newer.
And how many currently do we have in use for our district? Just trying to get a sense of how.
About 42, 43 buses total. That's the mini buses and the full-size buses.
So less than half would be replaced, new.
Yeah, I don't think in the first year of the contract, there'd be a requirement to replace buses during the contract, but not in the first year.
That is not, so what you're saying, the 17 or whatever it was that you just quoted would be the first year replacement?
I think his fleet meets that requirement currently.
With other replacements over the course of the 2-3, year 2, year 3, and so on.
Right. So again, it's a 3-year contract. The school committee has the option to exercise 2 more 1-year deals after that.
Right.
If for some reason, again, the cost of the buses are not an issue. It really isn't. It's really people and fuel. So 3 years out, if you see the reality of fuel in the world changing, then you have an opportunity to cut the contract there and say, okay, we'll go back out after 3 rather than 5.
I see. Yeah.
Any other questions? Mr. Domenici?
Yes.
Ms. Porto?
Yes.
Mr. Storrs?
Yes.
Mr. Larson? Yes. Mr. Withers?
Yes.
Mr. Frappier?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we had a presentation from Whitson's Food Service this evening. They, again, were the only ones who bid on the food service business for the district this year. And before I entertain the motion, I'll just ask Mr. Furtado if you have any comments you want to make.
A couple, Mr. Chairman. One is, they also were the only people who submitted a proposal. And again, they knew that going in because they were the only ones to attend the pre-bid meeting to reconcile any questions. And their proposal freezes the cost to the food service program, so it's not the district, it's their revenue burden by selling lunches. There are twofold with Whitson's. One is their management fee and one is a administrative fee. Those two things put together are about $150,000 a year. They froze that cost for us in FY '23, so there's no increase in either of those fees for next year.
Oh, I'm going to ask for a motion first.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Storrs?
Thank you. So I did appreciate that they went out of their way to freeze those. I think that showed a lot. Can you tell us, because I don't think it was written up or it wasn't provided, what is the overall increase compared to the current contract?
There's no increase in cost.
There will be an increase to the food cost, right?
The food cost will
right.
probably
That's what
increase,
I'm talking about, yeah.
Their budget for the food costs, again, in terms of food costs, their projections are typically high because of the way they prepare. They don't do, processed food, so they pay a higher cost. So I don't know what the number is off the top of my head. I would say something around $900,000 for next year was their projection with a $27,000 surplus at the end of the year.
And what was this past year?
$850,000.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or concerns?
How long is the contract for? 3 years with two-year?
This is 3-1.
Yes, just
Yes.
like the
Okay.
transportation contract, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Frappier?
Yes.
Mr. Withers?
Yes.
Mr. Larson, yes. Mr. Storrs?
Yes.
Ms. Porto?
Yes.
Mr. Domenici?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, that's the extent of our report.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. Open forum. Is there anyone who would like to address the committee tonight at open forum? I see no one. I'm going to close open forum, and the Attleboro School Committee will convene an executive session pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30, Section 21A2 and 3, to discuss strategy with respect to negotiations with union personnel and with respect to collective bargaining, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the school committee. The committee will not return to open session. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Domenici?
Yes.
Mr. Porto?
Yes.
Ms. Porto, excuse me, sorry. Mr. Storrs?
Yes.
Mr. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Withers? Yes. Mr. Frappier? All right. All right, so hang out, Mr. Frappier. We're not going to take too long of a break, and we'll get this show on the road.